We have back-to-back games now of Jonathon Gannon calling good defensive concepts. But I still want to see it a few more times. Considering what we saw the first part of his season, he makes me a little leery. He's been consistent the last couple of weeks. His defense has put the clamps on offenses and it helped their team win games that they need to win. But I'm still just a little leery that he may resort back somewhere down the road to what he was doing before, which could be devastating to this team.
Welcome back, live post-game show. Mark Farzetta, Derek Gunn, Devin Caney with you. We are fueled by Stateside Vodka, 15% off a very popular Stateside Vodka soda. How about that? Huh? Little vodka soda? Who doesn't enjoy a nice vodka soda? Stateside Vodka, go to statesidevodka.com. It's absolutely delicious, as you can see. So we're going to be talking to John McMullen a little bit later in the show. I do want to get this across. Right now, I'm seeing this from Jeff McClain's Twitter. Darius Slay, concussion protocol. Darius Slay, concussion protocol. So we'll see how that goes out. How about this? These are some of my favorite numbers to come out. Darius Slay apparently has more touchdowns than George Kittle so far this season. A slew of other offensive talented players. And let's see, the Lions, the rest of the Lions over the last 3 weeks.
Oh, my God.
Darius Slay, 3 touchdowns. Not too shabby right there for big play Slay.
Yeah, funny, people chastised him all last season for not making a big plays, and he's having a heck of a season, and you could argue that he's having a Pro Bowl season again. It's the kind of game he played his last year in Detroit, and he didn't quite have that type of success last year. But now, obviously, Jonathon Gannon is turning him loose. These cornerbacks, they want to play bump and run. They don't want to sit back and let everything come to them. They want to be more assertive, more aggressive. They want to battle. They want to hand-to-hand combats with these wide receivers. And now that's what Gannon has let them do the last couple of games. And hopefully they will continue to do that moving forward because, again, they're going to face some opponents that they could win a lot of those battles against in terms of on the outside in the passing game because the quarterbacks throwing these wide receivers the football are not considered the elite quarterbacks, at least over the last 5 or 6 games. So let these guys play. Their ability to play the way they're playing now indeed helps the guys in the trenches and the linebackers backing them up be more effective in terms of controlling the line of scrimmage and putting more pressure consistently on quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've definitely been seeing the give and take that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. When is the secondary going to help the defensive line in terms of being able to get after the quarterback a little bit? We were screaming about that a couple of weeks ago, and then we started to finally see press coverage a little bit. We started to see these guys play a little bit more in-your-face type of defense. And very similarly to what we have been asking the offense doing, run the football. It's probably be the best version of yourself. Take the pressure off Jalen Hurts. Let your running backs make some plays. Let your awesome offensive line make plays.
Right.
And now we're watching Jonathon Gannon kind of go through the same type of thing. All right, this might be the best version of us where every once in a while we're going to be aggressive. We're going to get in that backfield. We're going to help that give and take between the secondary and the defensive line. And I can't help but to think, and I know this is it definitely has a negative connotation to it, but I'm not being negative here. When it comes to this learning on the job type of mentality and idea, I think we have certainly seen Nick Sirianni go through those moments of learning on the job and come out on the other end a better head coach and maybe even more importantly, a better play caller because of it. Are we now seeing Jonathon Gannon go through that same type of process where he went through the Drek early in the season? He did his guess and test what's the best version of my defense. And maybe now he's on the other side of it. Now, it's still a 29-point game. A 29-point game is still a 29-point game by any offense and any defense allows, whether there's Alvin Kamara or not, whether it's your starting quarterback or it's your backup in Trevor Siemian, whoever it might be. That's still 29 points allowed. But I have still seen what I believe to be a much better version of this Eagles defense, just like I have seen a much better version of this Eagles offense over the last 4 weeks. I'm now seeing Jonathon Gannon start to turn that same corner, and you go, all right, maybe this is the guy. Maybe this is the version of Jonathon Gannon that so many head coaches, so many front offices were coveting for him to be their defensive coordinator, because that was the talk a lot throughout the offseason. Oh, the Eagles actually got this guy. Oh my goodness, he's so good. And now we're finally starting to see maybe what some other teams were actually losing their minds over.
I think it was a case of Jonathon Gannon trying to force feed this defensive personnel his style of defense more so than identifying and utilizing the personnel that he had. You know, we all knew going in that the Eagles were not loaded with defensive talent, and they were getting exposed in a lot of cases early on in the season. So, you know, for now anyway, because I'm still not saying Jonathon Gannon is out of the doghouse. We've had back-to-back games. We have back-to-back games now of Jonathon Gannon calling good defensive concepts. But I still want to see it a few more times. You know, considering what we saw the first part of his season, you know, he makes me a little leery. He's been consistent the last couple of weeks. His defense has put the clamps on offenses and it helped their team win games that they need to win. But I'm still just a little leery that he may resort back somewhere down the road to what he was doing before, which could be devastating to this team.
First of all, I just want to say to anyone who attacked me for saying that, thank you, D-Gun, for backing me up. Can I get like a quote, whoever does a quote graphics, whoever's listening, can we just get like a side-by-side of that? Thank you.
Yeah.
But no, I totally agree. I think again, consistency is the new word. We've moved past improvement and adjustments, and now I just want to see consistency.
Yeah, see, we're in the here and now. And as of right now, Jonathon Gannon has called 2 pretty good games. Okay, 2 out of 11, not bad. Now, let's see if we can get that batting average up a little bit more. And like Devin said earlier, I'm not being negative. I'm just being a realist. You know, we know what we've seen in the past. We know what we've seen in the recent past and the present. I need to see it a lot more moving forward, you know, because I think if they play that style of defense, it helps that team overall that much more, be a much more competitive and a much better potentially winning type football team.
Yeah. You know, Gunnar, I believe in making dreams come true. So, Devin, if you just go like that for a second. I think James.
Wait, what am I doing?
I think James is our social media guy. And I'm sure if you just freeze frame like that, if you just hold that, I'm sure he'll crop it out and then put you next to Gunnar being like, yeah, what he said. See? And then we'll just put that together. And there we go. It'll go viral. People will pick that up like nobody's business. Come on now.
I love it. James, if you're listening, there you go. Got it. Okay.
There we go. Just screen grab. We'll send it out. No big deal. So, all right. So we're talking about guys maybe turning the corner, and that's what we're all kind of rooting for here at this point. Here's what I'm crossing my fingers for. That this is the turning point, because we went through that whole process, and look, they lost the second game where they were a run-heavy team. They lost the game against the Chargers before being able to do it again the following week against the Broncos. So now you're looking at 4 straight weeks of this offense actually doing it. It took 2 games for them to actually settle into that. Maybe now, and also against the Chargers, let's not forget that they blitzed more than ever, even though it was by a lot of accounts of people that actually played the game. Those weren't really blitzes because you were still sending 4, not 5. So when you look at an offense or a defense start to figure out like that, maybe this is where we're actually seeing them start to realize this is their best version of themselves. This is their true identity as a team that's going to send a linebacker up the middle like they did with Alex Singleton. And you're going to see a quarterback. Like, look, you're not going to face that many quarterbacks throughout the rest of the year that are that much better than Trevor Siemian. As you mentioned, Gunnar, let's think about this for a second. Daniel Jones twice. Then you also have Tyler Heineke twice. You have maybe Joe Flacco once, and maybe Dak Prescott once, depending on how that, you know, by the time things shape up to the way they're going to be at the end of the season, you might not be facing Dak Prescott. You may be facing Rush. So when you look at that particular game, you might not be facing their number 1 guy either. So if you apply pressure to these people, you're going to force them into mistakes. And Trevor Siemian, by the way, aborted so many plays when he saw that blitz coming. Just threw it into the ground, threw it at the feet of the defensive lineman or linebackers coming in over the line of scrimmage. You saw it time and time again throughout this game where he was just like, hell no, boom, ball on the ground. And that was the end of it. That's forcing somebody else into a mistake or forcing somebody into just killing a play from the get-go.
Quarterbacks don't want to take unnecessary hits. Why would they? You know, and you know, obviously he saw it coming. The Saints offensive line blew the pickups, and the Eagles kept coming and kept coming, just enough to keep Trevor, you know, off his game. the guy was completing less than 58% of his passes coming into this particular game. He had not turned the ball over. And I do believe the Eagles' pressure on him enabled them to force him to turn the ball over a couple of times. Saints had 3 turnovers. And as you know, when you have an abundance of turnovers in a game, especially at the NFL level, you're not going to win many games. And so basically the Eagles' defense got Trevor to play their game instead of allowing him to play his game.
Mm-hmm. No, that's certainly what it looked like today, and that's really what we've been asking for a long time.
Right.
We did have a couple of moments in this game where it was hold the breath moments. Darius Slay going out, concussion protocol. We mentioned that already. Avonte Maddox left the game for a little bit as well after he made a play early in the game. Devin, you're the one that highlighted it, the 3rd and 11 play where Maddox he seems good to go. Dallas Goedert looked sharp in this game after he went through concussion protocol. So there's a couple of guys that are going to be waiting to see how they're going to be doing going forward, whether it's Jordan Howard or whether it's Darius Slay. Slay, again, concussion protocol. Jordan Howard, it looked like, I think they said it was his lower back. He landed on his forehead. But apparently it was a I almost said lower body injury.
Right.
It was his back that was bothering him on that particular play. So we'll see exactly what happens there. And John McMullen will be joining us coming up in just a minute. So we hope to talk to him soon and get filled in on everything that happened after the game as far as the press conferences went and what Nick Sirianni had to say when he addressed the rest of the crowd or addressed the rest of the media. Something else that we haven't quite talked about yet. When it comes to the wide receiver position, I referenced it earlier, but how much in need of a second target is Jalen Hurts right now? Like Dallas Goedert, I think is legit as a tight end. I think we all admit, I can know that. Devontae Smith, I think is a legit receiver. I think we all know that. But how much are they in need of someone to be consistent behind those two? Really a wide receiver more so than a tight end. Because I don't think Jalen Reagor's that guy. And I know he had a catch again today. JJ, I think a Whiteside ain't that guy.
Right.
Who's going to – Quez Watkins was
don't take away that catch.
I know, right?
The guy I want to know where Quez Watkins was.
Yeah.
You got to give JJ Arcega-Whiteside that catch, though.
This keeps happening. They keep omitting guys that should be developing more. Quez Watkins has a skill set to be a significant contributor. You can't – okay, so you got to throw the ball to Dallas Goedert in hindsight of his big contract now. You're going to throw him the ball. Devonta Smith is your featured wide receiver because he was a highly drafted number 1 pick. But you've got to develop some other guys. Quez Watkins has the speed. He's shown you that he can catch the ball. Has he dropped a few passes? Yes. But what receiver hasn't dropped a few passes along the way?
Right.
You've got to get more people involved in your offense. I've been screaming about getting Boston Scott more touches forever. They finally did that the past couple of weeks out of necessity. Now I'm going to say, where's Greg Ward? Why are you not utilizing this guy? I think he's a very good slot target, and I don't understand why they're not using him as well. Jalen Reagor, a lot of people, myself included, ready to give up on Jalen Reagor for whatever reason. You're thinking, okay, here's a young guy. He has the potential to develop, but now he's been in two offensive systems in less than a year. Doug Peterson's and now Nick Sirianni. They didn't throw him a lot last year. They're definitely not throwing to him a lot this year. So is it him or is it a combination of him not getting coached up, so to speak? Nobody's going to know that answer. But, I think Reagor has the potential to be a serviceable receiver, but you got to give him a chance. Quez Watkins has a chance to be a very dynamic receiver, but you have to give him more chances. Just not happening for these guys right now.
I forgot that Greg Ward was on the roster.
There you go.
That's why I started laughing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, no, this isn't a laughing matter, but just if we're not laughing, we're crying, right? Justin Jefferson, 8 receptions today. 169 yards, nice. 2 receiving touchdowns.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson had himself a very nice game. Jalen Reagor, not so much. When we come back, we're going to be joined by the great John McMullen. He'll be joining the program today. Look forward to hearing what he has to say as far as all the press conferences went. Don't forget, we are presented by Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the live shows. Go for the win. More live post-game show. John McMullen joining us in a few.